United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Bobby.
Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio.
Are you ready?
Power. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party. It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
Oh, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance and the United Wrestling Network. It's Thursday night. What do you guys want to talk about?
Nothing.
Hey, this just handed to me hot off the presses, December 17th, Long Beach, California. The United Wrestling Network, it goes back to it on December 17th, which is a Sunday. Long Beach, California, which I'm assuming is going to be the Thunder Studios. I'm excited. DK, I think we're going to get some more championship wrestling, more primetime live, more Derby City, or something of the sorts.
Impressive.
Well, a lot of people were counting the United Wrestling Network out, but
including Dave, I think.
Dave got down, and then he bounced back. Look, there were a lot of people looking for a deal with CW, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah,
was a deal with CW.
Well, and that's kind of why we have the title of the show tonight is "Don't Count Your Chickens Until Your Eggs Are Hatched," because so many people have been reporting about this, quote unquote deal, this deal with CW. And what I've been trying to tell everybody, anyone that would listen to me, is until the CW makes that announcement, there is no deal. And now it's so convoluted and it's so warped. You've got especially this one guy, the Housen guy, keeps mentioning he's the one that said, they have a deal with CW, and he was the source, if you can remember that one. Then they keep explaining, it seems like, because of the spot at Samhain where Father James Mitchell and his miserably faithful were doing the cocaine spot. They're saying that's what eliminated the NWA CW deal. And what I'm trying to tell you guys is no deal has been announced. No deal has been announced. How could a spot on a pay-per-view cancel a TV show that hasn't even been announced yet?
Okay. Let's look at this, shall we?
Let's...
So we can understand why you don't get caught up in things and why we report what's actually happening and not every rumor that goes through the deal. Apparently, lots of wrestling promotions either reached out to CW, or if you believe some, CW reached out to them.
Sure.
And so CW has apparently been trying to get wrestling. Now, I don't know why, but apparently they've been trying to get wrestling. And, even Fox acknowledged that they can't sell advertising on wrestling at the same rates they sell it for sporting events.
Sure.
And so CW's out there, and supposedly a lot of people have talked to him. And I do not doubt that at some point Billy Corgan probably talked with CW or CW talked with him. I mean, I don't doubt that. But when Billy Corgan came out and said, we have a TV deal, I think people just assumed, since everybody knew CW was, been out there talking to everybody, that people just assumed it was them.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that are doing it. Now, Billy has never said who. In fact, he's been very emphatic. He can't talk about the deal yet outside of apparently there is one. And even that, I don't exactly know what it means, And so preliminary deal, things have been signed. I don't know, but, handshake agreement, can't tell you. But he's been very clear he can't talk about it. And so then what happens is you get somebody who on their very own probably makes an assumption, starts reporting it. And then when things look like, well, maybe that's not the case, and then you start looking for your way out of it. Now, it's been clear from the media reports that CW and WWE have been in intense talk for 2 to 3 months at least, and probably been talking since Vince McMahon came back. And that was always going to be the deal CW was going to go for first. So they weren't going to sign a deal with anybody else until that one either went, that they either signed NXT or they were totally out of the running, one of the two. But, they're not going to go sign with Billy and then go, ooh, no, look, we got a chance for this. And so all these stories about how, that soured CW execs and Billy didn't think that they would be watching the pay-per-view. Can't say I'm Billy's biggest fan, but he knows that if they're going to put a product on, they're going to probably watch it.
Well, and our pal Paladin, who is in the chat, and you guys feel free to jump in the chat if you're watching, comment. We enjoy reading your guys' comments, and we'll take time to do that in a few minutes. But, Paladin says, well, it's a logical assumption, but again, it's still an assumption. It's an assumption. The logic here is this, right? CW previously was in business with the WWE, 15 years ago, 10 years ago? Well, I don't even remember how long ago it was. But, SmackDown used to appear on CW. And the reason why I knew that there was something going on with CW and how I kept telling people, hey, this is probably not it, is because I actually saw some emails indicating that there was conversation going on. Now, I can't go and report that stuff because, again, if you can't name your source, then you can't credibly report it. I can't name my source, so I can't credibly report it. But I've seen it, and that's why I warned everyone, hey, caution with this. There's bigger pieces moving here. And it wasn't just one national company. It was multiple national companies. And there's lots of promotions that we're trying to get with CW. And again, the writer strike played into this. The actor strike played into this. And now that the strikes are just seemingly up and done, I don't know how that's going to impact the wrestling scene. I don't know what's going to happen next in terms of where wrestling promotions are going to go. AEW still trying to iron out its deal with Warner Brother Discovery. That's still in play. There's still Raw's contract still hasn't been finalized yet, and they're in their last year of USA. September of next year, Raw's might have a new home, might not be on USA anymore, especially considering they just locked up SmackDown, right? And so that means that there could be more suitors for the NWA, for Impact, or TNA Wrestling, for AEW, for Ring of Honor, for Bob's wrestling promotion down south. There's so many moving parts, and for somebody to pinpoint this is going to happen, you can't. You just can't. Until it's a formal announcement from CW or from an NWA executive, and even then, that doesn't mean it's going to happen. Remember when Eric Bischoff was trying to secure a TV time slot for WCW once they were canceled off of Turner? Do you remember that, DK? Before they were sold, he had
yeah, because it was such a short announcement between them being canceled and them actually going off the air.
Yeah.
And I want to point a couple of things out, since you talked about Paladin goes assumption based on evidence. Yes, there was no evidence. See, that's the problem. All that was basically known was that CW has talked to tons of different promotions, and that Billy said there was a deal. There's no evidence that ever linked those two. It was just assumption. And then someone else comes, and this is another thing. Someone else comes out and says something, and then everybody picks up on that one source and starts reporting it. And they go, oh, well, it's being reported here and here and here. And, Yahoo's picked it up, and they picked it up, and Bob's picked it up. And it's like, yeah, but they're all pointing to the same original thing.
And especially that Nick Housen, and I'm going to say it on the air, and I wrote it too. When you ask a reporter who their source is, and they say, I can't name my source, I'm the source. When they say that, they lose credibility. And for people to keep listening to what this guy's writing, I mean, look, I have a website too, guys, and guess what? There's no authority. I can write whatever I want on the internet, and there's no authority to censor me. There's no authority to tell me that I'm not telling the truth. There's nobody editing his website but him. And if he's getting this information and he's right about it, okay, I'll acknowledge it when he's right. But so far, I see where he wrote a story indicating that there was a deal with CW, which I kind of knew that there wasn't. And we're seeing the fallout from that now. And then, okay, well, now the talent's upset. Really? Because if you talk to the talent, they all seem pretty jazzed about what's happening right now. If you talk to some of the, some of the people on the roster, they're pretty happy about the direction of the NWA. Now, I'm not going to pretend like I've spoken to everybody on the roster, but, and just in the last few months, I mean, Jeremiah Plunkett was on with me yesterday. We've had some talent on, not super recently, but within the last few months, and everyone seems very positive about the direction where the NWA is going. And even being, again, I didn't report anything
more positive than a year ago.
Yeah, well, and I wasn't there to report anything. I was just there having a meal with my friend Gary Horn. But when I was there at the hotel where the NWA talent were staying, and everyone was very excited coming off of the Power tapings, everyone is in a very positive demeanor. I talked to Mecha Wolf, and I talked to Joe Kazana, and everyone seemed very, very positive. So, again, where is this guy getting his sources from? Who's telling him that they're unhappy? And if you can't name the wrestler, then how can it's hearsay?
Well, and here's the thing with things like that. First of all, at different points in the history, have people been upset with the way they've been used by Billy? Yes. Sure. I mean, we've both been told in person by wrestlers who worked there that they weren't necessarily happy. Is a story like Billy isn't available to talk, booking or direction or something like that true? Probably. I mean, yes, he goes on tours. He's a busy guy. I mean, I don't doubt that. When Sean Ross Sapp reports something that was, oh, by the way, that quick detour here. All these places were reporting about the CW and NWA, except for like Pro Wrestling Insider, Fightful, even Denise also sells. People that have known inside sources and stuff like that. Yeah, known access. None of them said a thing. And so that should have been everybody's biggest clue right off of that. And so anyway, going back to what we were talking about, which just suddenly slipped my mind. What were we talking about, Jay?
We were talking about the reports about the talent being unhappy.
Okay, reports being, so I think things can be said that under the right circumstances, and if you ask the right question, that can be done that way. But like when they're like, oh, they were disappointed over the CW deal falling apart and how one of the talent was blindsided. Well, I'm willing to bet you Jay's salary that the talent haven't been told anything about the deal, because that's how things get out. The more people you tell, the bigger chance that stuff goes out.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too. Like, they're sources. I mean, I have relationships with people, and again, I don't report things that I can't report on, because that's the whole point. When you break down journalism, okay, it's the credible reporting of news, right? You're stating facts, and this is for journalism in general, not just pro wrestling, but journalism in general. It's not supposed to have your opinion. It's supposed to be fact-based. And if you cannot support your facts with evidence, then it's your opinion. It's hearsay. And it's not journalism. It's just an editorial. And again, when they have not distinctly announced a deal with any particular company, they said a top 20 cable network, and they said 2 deals. So there still might be a deal with CW. There still might be a deal with CW, but it hasn't been announced yet. And I don't think necessarily that that there's 2 shows. Maybe they're on 2 different networks. Everyone's jumping to a conclusion. Well, not everyone, but a lot of one particular journalist has been saying a lot of things, and I just don't know how they have that. How many people are buying into it? They're getting worked by a mark. So I'm going to back off on the commentary now, but I also want to go back to some of the things that I'm seeing in the chat. Where was I going? I completely lost my train of thought.
Good. Go to Luthez.
Yeah. Well, Luthez says don't sleep on the Bob. So,
Well, go a little bit further down where he's talking about mid-talent upset.
Mid-talent upset with how they're used. Never heard that headline in wrestling before. I mean, look, there's a reason why the Country Gentlemen became the Kazana brothers. One talent left the company, and that talent was the one that stooged out the whole documentary series, right? He's the one that reported, like, he leaked that out on the internet before there was any formal announcement. And so everyone was like, oh, hey, look, there's a TV deal. And people jumped to assume that it was with Netflix. Like, it's the season 2 of Wrestler. No, man, it's something else entirely different. But everyone, I can't say everyone, but certain people are just, trying to connect dots that aren't there. And it's wild, man. It's wild that so many people are jumping on board with this stuff. And if you go to any of the not chat rooms, geez, where am I? 1997 AOL grandstands. If you go to Facebook and Facebook groups about the NWA, so many people are talking about how Corgan screwed the pooch with this. Now, there's 2 different parts here, right? There's the TV deal and then the cocaine spot. Now, we spoke ad nauseum about the cocaine spot last week, and was it in bad taste? 100%. Am I here defending that spot? Not at all. It was stupid. It was moronic. It was sophomoric. It made no sense. It didn't elevate the program. It didn't tell a story. It was a stupid waste of 30 seconds. Right?
You know, two things that seem opposing can be true at the same time.
Sure.
I mean, people can look at that segment and think it sucked, and people can go, man, if TV executives looked at that segment, they would probably be going, what the hell?
Yeah.
But that there was a cocaine spot that people don't like does not equal because a certified faker decided to do an X campaign with CW, that's what led to WWE and CW signing NXT. I mean, if you believe in your heart of hearts that it was because of a Billy Corgan screw up on a pay-per-view in one segment, that canceled the deal for them and got a WWE promotion signed to a channel, you're delusional. I'm sorry.
Well, and okay, and let's take this another direction for just a minute. The WWE deal, guys. I know that discussion has been in the works for a while, but you don't pull off a multi-million dollars. Like I think it was, I don't remember the number, but it was a huge number for NXT, the rights for NXT for the next 5 years, starting in September of 2024. That doesn't happen overnight. It just doesn't. Look, you can't get a deal like that done overnight. It doesn't happen in a week span or 2 week span. There had been some serious negotiations. We're talking about a major network. We're talking about a major wrestling promotion, the biggest wrestling promotion in the world. Are you telling me that they just said, oh, hey, look at that spot that happened at this pay-per-view. Let's slide right in and steal the deal from Billy? No. How brain dead can you be to think that that's what happened? There's no possible way. And furthermore, if the WWE wanted to work with almost any cable channel and that the price was reasonable and it worked out for them, of course they're going to accept that. The WWE has a proven track record of drawing ratings. Now, Fox said, hey, it's not selling the same as regular sporting events, but there's still channels out there that would love to be associated with the WWE programming that would make money working with the WWE. So, of course, the CW is going to jump on that. It's a known commodity. Wrestling is it's in an upswing right now. Of course, this all makes sense. But them ousting the NWA is just crazy. Crazy.
I mean, let's remember, Fox is one of the big four and often finishes in the top couple of stations from viewership and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Over time, I don't really know what it is today, but yeah, so Fox is going to look at numbers and say, okay, you promised me 3-4 million and I'm only getting 2, and it's going to mean something different. I mean, if they pull 2 million on USA with the drastic reduction of houses that they're available in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it'd be crazy. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but let's live in the real world a little bit here, folks, and let's not grab everything that comes out and everything that's said. And I was talking about the thing with Sean Ross Sapp, and I don't know if I finished my thought or not, but sure, you could probably find somebody who was blindsided because they thought there was a deal, but they didn't really know any more than we we did. And that was my point, because I'm, like I said, whatever deal Billy has, and we'll see. For all we know, Billy jumped the gun in announcing it something. I mean, I don't know.
And again, in that, I mean, there could be some truth to that. When he was on Busted Open, like the thing he said is, when I have the TV deal to announce, I'll come on Busted Open and announce it. Well, he was on Busted Open, and he supposedly had something in the works, but he didn't. It wasn't official, or at least he couldn't announce it. At the very least, he couldn't announce whatever deal he has. And again, going back to everyone in the comments, like, look, maybe there is some sort of deal with CW. The CW has an app that has a streaming platform. There's the CW Plus, I believe, which is alternative content for other markets. So there's still a chance that the NWA might end up on a CW spot, but it's not going to be prime time. It's not going to be with CW like on Tuesday nights. It's not going to be the lead-in for NXT.
Well, someone told me, like, even their deal with, what was it, WoW?
Yeah.
That was almost kind of like what I was talking about. It was more like something that they were making available to stations in their network. Not, it was a show that was going to be on X time.
Yeah, well, like in my local market for WoW, it's on like in a CBS affiliate. Like we have our CBS station, and then there's a secondary sister station to CBS in the Los Angeles market. So it comes on what the station's called KCAL, and it's, like I said, it's basically
KCAL, huh?
Yeah, no association, by the way. But KCAL airs WoW. And they air it like, I think, like at midnight or maybe 11 p.m. on Friday nights or something like that. I watch it on YouTube when I watch it. But what I'm trying to say is, like, yes, that's a little bit different kind of a deal. They don't have like a deal to be on every CW affiliate. They just have a deal to be on some of the channels. I think it's like alternate content for some areas.
Now, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big believer words mean things.
Yeah.
So, a question that I asked on Discord and a couple other people is there, if someone says they have a TV deal, are you expecting it to be on TV as opposed to streaming? Because they're not saying they have a streaming deal. People go, oh, well, if they have a TV deal, they could be on Amazon. Yes, you can watch Amazon on your TV, but that's a streaming deal, not a TV. And so, I mean, I'm wondering, do you think there's a difference? Do you think when they say it's a TV deal, that means that, yeah, it should, I mean, even if it's a syndication thing and, maybe in California, it's going to be on midnight on the CBS secondary channel, or in DFW, it's going to be on the ABC secondary channel at 12 noon or something like that. Is there a difference? Because in my mind there is.
I mean, like, look, there's obviously a difference between having a deal on the main 4 broadcasting networks and all the cable networks. And then there's a big difference between being on the cable networks and then being on, local television, right? And then there's a big difference between that and being on the internet. Anyone could jump on YouTube. Like, hey, they let us be on YouTube, right? We are on YouTube right now. Right now, we
standards apparently aren't very high.
We're sharing the same platform right now as the NWA. Okay. So the barrier of entry to having a television program is not, or excuse me, a video program is not hard. Okay. So when you tell me, like, hey, we have a TV deal. Okay. If that means someone's paying you for your content, okay, cool. Okay. Yeah, let's go. Let's do this. Like some of the smaller wrestling promotions, they have deals where, like, they air on the channel and they split advertising, or they give up the advertising and they basically just get to run their product for free, or they get like the last hour of advertising or something like that. So there's a way that it works out where the station makes money without putting up any cost, and the show can air with very little costs on that network. That to me isn't super impressive. I mean, at the end of the day, if you have your program on where people can see it on a large market and you can measure how many people are watching that program, I mean, that's a big deal, right? For example, what Dave Marquez does with the United Wrestling Network, Championship Wrestling, it's on a bunch of networks all throughout the U.S. Recently, Memphis Wrestling just had a press release where, like, now you can even watch Memphis Wrestling in Los Angeles on like a smaller television station. So these are kind of, look, they're not huge money making deals, but it's great for visibility. So if Billy and the NWA can find a channel that gives them visibility, hey, that's still a step up from YouTube as far as I'm concerned. But what I think everyone was hoping for and was expecting is a big time, hey, we're gonna be the face of this channel, and Paramount, what is it, the Paramount network called?
The streaming thing?
No, they have Paramount has an actual channel too, right? It used to be Spike TV.
Yeah, they do. It might be called Paramount.
Okay, we'll just call it the Paramount Network. If the NWA landed on the Paramount Network, that'd be a pretty great deal for them, and I'd be excited for them. But again, it's like we're just speculating here. We don't know. This is speculation, and it's fine. If the NWA progresses to some sort of TV deal, I think that's a step up for them. If they stay on YouTube, it's not the end of the world. It's just, Billy even said, like, hey, it's hard to get monetized on YouTube. It's hard to make money on YouTube. The algorithm doesn't really respect wrestling, support wrestling. So it's something, but it's not, we could probably make more on TV. So hence the push for that. Now, we have a lot of people in the comment section. Should we go to some comments?
Go to some comments. I've kind of stopped looking at them as we talked about this, but yes, go. Let's see.
First, I'm trying to jump around. I'm going to go back a little bit, but we'll catch up to everyone. Let's see. We all look at the rumors and have fun, whereas some feel we take it seriously. It's entertainment reading the rumors. Yeah, and that's okay. If you enjoy reading the rumors, there's nothing wrong with rumors, right? Just don't report rumors as fact. If you keep rumors as rumors, that's fine. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I read the rumors.
Sure.
Paladin says, Bischoff said, was Corgan trying to get Mitchell over with the cocaine spot? He hasn't been over 20 years and has been working. Yeah, again, like Eric Bischoff isn't somebody who I put a lot of stake in at this point. Like, how many years has it been since he was involved with a successful running of a wrestling company? I mean, you look what he did in Impact. I wasn't blown away. I wasn't super impressed. They brought him back to WWE for like a hot minute and then let him go. Like, I think like 2 or 3 weeks later. Like his track record with WC,
2 months, I think.
2 months. His time with WCW is celebrated, but also that was 20 years ago, and ultimately WCW failed under Eric Bischoff, right? So, I mean, why are we putting? It's like similarly to Tony Khan, right? There was a lot of excitement with AEW because of a lot of these free agents were just being signed and money just being thrown around, and for a while that was very exciting. But then, like, it's had kind of a drop off in viewership, and people are less excited about that. And it's the same thing with WCW. If you look back in the 90s, Bischoff was throwing around Turner money. He was signing anybody he could away from the WWE. He started off with Luger, then Hogan first, actually, Macho Man, and then Hall, Nash, and anyone that he could bring over. Signing a lot of the talents away from Mexico, signing talents away from ECW, signing talents in conjunction with New Japan to give you this super awesome wrestling promotion. And at the end of the day, when Turner decided to stop spending that money or couldn't afford to spend that money anymore, they failed. So and I'm not wishing that on Tony Khan or anything, but there is a stark comparison there. So, like, Bischoff to me isn't the end all be all when it comes to making a monster wrestling company. Sure, give me Ted Turner's money. I bet you I could do something interesting too. Let's see.
Oh, and Spike TV did become Paramount Network, so that's what the name of the channel is.
Okay, and then Wrestling with Classics, who is in our Discord. I don't know if you've been on one of our Thursday shows before, but I have seen him on the Wednesday show, so thanks for checking us out tonight. He says CW WWE didn't just talk on Tuesday and have a deal on Wednesday. Yeah, it's not something that just happened, right? It wasn't an accident. They didn't fall into it, and it wasn't like Triple H held the president of CW hostage and said, "Hey, we're not leaving this room until we get a deal done." James H. Jackson says, "Nice, Triple H pounced on that cocaine spot and got a deal done." Yeah. Our pal Fuzz says, "Wait, are you telling me that people think Corgan can be an asshole? He's been a royal asshole since people who knew him in grade school." That's the thing. And again, I do want to stress,
and I don't think he'd deny it.
No, I don't think he would. Yeah, that's what you said. I don't think he would deny it either. Billy Corgan, this isn't an insult. His brain isn't the same as yours as mine. He is a genius, and I mean that with the absolute most sincerity. He's a musical genius. He is a rock star. He doesn't see things the same way you and I see them. And when he's making his wrestling promotion, the NWA, it's his vessel, it's his vehicle. People are falling over themselves to talk to Billy Corgan, and if that means entertaining a pitch for a wrestling program on their TV, sure. Billy Corgan's name will get him through many, many doors, but let's not forget, Billy Corgan is not like Mr. Nice Guy, And I'm not saying he's in any experience I've had with him, he was perfectly nice, perfectly welcoming, but that doesn't mean he's necessarily a nice guy. He's been in the recording industry for like 30 years now. I don't think he knows how to be a nice guy. He is who he is. So when you say he's an asshole, like, I'm sure he understands and appreciates that.
Just out of curiosity, do you think they might end up on the Hallmark Channel, where every show will be exactly the same, including the end, and have the same ending?
I sure hope not.
It's just what the drama will be in the last 30 minutes.
Well, at least we'll get better Christmas episodes, right?
That is true.
I'm just
and a lot of them.
Yeah.
Since I think they start celebrating Christmas October 1st. So
and that means more Candace Cameron. Let's go. Matthew Underwood says, Carneyland on TV Land, baby. I mean, why? Okay, sure, why not? Let's make it happen. I mean, what would be kind of interesting is if they got an animation department to draw up all the old WCW, or excuse me, not WCW, NWA matches. So like Lou Thez matches and Ric Flair matches, and just animate it, right? Obviously you have to talk to the survivors and whoever to get it signed off, and then put that like on a Cartoon Network. There you go.
It'd be perfect.
Our pal Adam says AEW refuses to work with Corgan because he disrespects Tony Khan. He said so himself. Okay, look, it's understandable, and really, it's so weird too because AEW will literally work with anybody.
Wait,
except for Billy
Corgan.
Who
said so?
He said TK said so.
Tony Khan got offended when people were asking him about a women's pay-per-view. And he got mad because he had paid for his own talent to go to the NWA Empower thing. And he felt he should have been credited for the pay-per-view. That was an AEW women's pay-per-view, not an NWA. And by the way, as we talked about, that's not uncommon when you reach out to other promotions, that they're the ones that pay their talent,
there was, part of the reason why UWN and the NWA went their separate ways was because of stuff like that. I saw the comment here in the chat, but I don't see it right now. Did you see what Nick Aldis posted on Instagram today?
No, I don't follow Nick Aldis.
Oh, I'm blocked, so I didn't see it myself either. But if you look, somebody shared it on Twitter, and essentially he shared the story of NXT going to CW, and then put the Dokken into the fire, the original Power theme song as the story. And I thought, wow, that dude is such an asshole. I mean, it's funny. I laughed, but dude still harbors a grudge against Billy, doesn't he?
You know, I'm going to go back and say what we said when they first had their falling out and it became public, which was, I think they're both right. I think every complaint that Billy had against Aldous was true, and I think every complaint that Aldous had against Billy was true. They were a match made in hell, and it shouldn't surprise anybody it didn't last.
There it is, Matthew. Now we're shitting on Nick Aldis. What's so funny is today, randomly, as I was driving into work, I don't know. I wanted to listen to some of the old podcasts, so I pulled it up on Spotify. And the last time I listened to my own podcast was, at least in my car, was the episode October 20th, 2020, and I was talking about Nick Aldis's refusal to defend the 10 pounds of gold, which has kind of led to the whole falling out we had with Nick Aldis at least on this channel. But man, that guy carries a grudge. James H. Jackson says, I'm happy with the NWA on YouTube. Just upload that sucker and I'll watch it on my time. So for me, on a CW app would be better. I want to upload the episode. I'll get to it when I can. And that's, I mean, look, that's, if the only difference is, Billy makes more money if someone watches it on CW versus YouTube, like, okay. Because most of us have the access to internet now. Most of us can watch it on an app, or, most of us have our TV set up where we can watch internet content direct to our TV. So it really doesn't change a whole lot, except for if CW is paying for that content. Because I would imagine that CW is going to pay a higher price per minute than perhaps YouTube.
Well, I mean, I don't begrudge him taking any deal that's better for him. And I don't want to get lost in that.
Yeah.
I mean, any deal I don't care if it's streaming or whatever, any deal that's better, sure, he should take it. I mean, that's just business, there. But people get so hyped into these things because it feeds with, whatever fantasy they have. And, that's where you get things like, the CW story and everything like that. Because people want it and stuff like that. And then people, though, will also try to equate things that aren't equal. Oh, well, if they get on a streaming service, it's just as good as getting on TV. No, I'm afraid it's not. Sorry. Yeah. I was somewhere and someone goes, well, even the NFL has things on Amazon or whatever, and I can probably be streaming my Thursday night game right now. Yeah. I go, you know what I do on Sundays when I watch, football from noon till 10? I turn to,
CBS
I turn to CBS or Fox, depending on which one has this game I want to watch. And of course, in the afternoon, I only have one choice. And then at night, I only have one choice on NBC. But I watch them on the network. I don't sit there trying to, figure out where it's going to stream or if it's streaming. And some of them don't, or whatever. And it's, that's what I do. And a lot of people think, oh, well, I stream everything. I literally heard this from a person I was talking to in person the other day. They go, well, I just stream everything. They go, I haven't watched anything. I go, good for you. I go, so you watch this? Well, no, I can't get that streaming.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay.
It turns out everything I want to watch is basically on Disney Plus, so I'm good.
Everything you want to watch or everything your kids want to watch. So that's what you want to watch.
It's kind of like a win-win, right? Like I just
got
got
Star Wars and Marvel, and
yeah, and then the kids enjoy, Bluey and Wally and all that stuff. But I will say this, man, I just got hit with Max. They just hit me for $150 for the next year, and I forgot I even had the subscription. I'm like, oh man, well, I guess it's time to start watching some what is it, Young Justice.
yeah.
And I never watched Doom Patrol, so I guess I should go check that out as well.
Go finish Titans.
I haven't even started Titans. Okay, I'll
Go
go
start
check out
Titans.
This one made me laugh for Doty. He says, guys, the TV deal is NWA presents The Culinary Experience Awesome Adventure featuring Tyrus. See how the master can eat 3 plates of rotisserie chicken. The source? I'm the source. Oh, Doty, that was one of the funniest things you've ever written, Doty. I love it.
That man,
look,
happy man.
and whatever channel that is, Willie's boycotting it. So that's gonna work. Our pal Adam says, as of now, CW has WoW and NXT in 24, maybe NWA on their app. And look, that could still all of this could still be the case, right? I don't know how long WoW's deal with CW is or what the plan will be if the WWE comes to it. Yesterday, Tim and I were talking on a private chat, and he had mentioned, like, I said to him, like, look, when WWE normally comes to a content provider, they kind of dominate it. They don't allow the competition on the same channel. Now, the NWA really isn't WWE competition, neither is WoW, but I could they did pull strings to get MLW off of, one of the USA's Comcast, whatever you call the network, got them off of one of the Comcast channels. So, like, I could see where WWE could come in.
That brings up an interesting question. Matthew Underwood, yeah, whichever station the Cowboys are losing in. That team. One day we'll have a good team again, but I may not be alive when it happens.
You just got a World Series. Relax. It's okay.
So, which, by the way, for all the times that you pointed out to me that the Rangers hadn't, won a World Series. Anyway.
And how many years did it take?
I don't care. Who's won one more recent, my team or yours? Anyway. Yeah. Right.
Matthew Underwood brings up a good question. So how many networks that used to have wrestling are left? MTV, Paramount, Sci-Fi, Bally's Sports, ESPN. And look, when we look at those, we look at what's offered there. Again, with Sci-Fi, I don't think that's going to be a fit because, again, that's a universal Comcast station. And we do know that SmackDown will still be on USA.
Now I remember what I was going to talk about.
Regardless of where.
The only advantage that anything has now is because of what happened to MLW and MLW suing, the WWE has to be a little more careful before chasing on another wrestling promotion. So, yes, if you are going to try and get a deal with somebody that maybe has a vague link because, 5 companies up, 10% is owned by, Comcast or whatever, now would be the time so that WWE can prove that they don't tamper with contracts and they don't squash competition. Hey, Brian.
Brian Cervantes in the house, friend of the show. Brian, when do you want to come on and talk some Mission Pro? Season 1 of NWA Power was considered the best, and what he means when after the bucket of chicken comment, everything went downhill. I do feel like the show did take a hit when Cornette left. He certainly had some charm. His commentary was good. He brought some credibility to the show. Sure, when he left, things changed. But at the end of the day, like, the show has evolved over the last 4 years now. And it's funny because, again, like, going back to, I listened to a podcast from 2020, And there was no NWA Power. I mean, Power stopped in March. Everything that they had was finished by March 20th. And then they took the rest of the season as a sabbatical. Dave Marquez started doing the primetime live at the end of 2020. I think the first show was like September 10th or September 15th. And they featured NWA title matches. And it was like, okay, well, we got some NWA content. But like there was no Power for like almost an entire year. And then it took almost till I think March of 2021 before they started shooting again. So it has gone through a metamorphosis. They are looking for a television deal. I don't think it's going to be on the CW network. It still might be part of the CW family, but there has been no official indication. There's been no formal announcement. Everything that you hear has been rumor or hearsay. And until CW announces a deal, or until Billy Corgan announces a deal, or whoever that broadcasting partner is going to be announces that deal, it's just hearsay. It's just rumors. Am I right?
Question for you.
Yeah,
You're right. I mean, just you're 100% right. That is the way it bees, and we don't know anything until they tell us. And hopefully, everybody's learned their lesson. Just because somebody says something, to take huge grains of salt. And yes, there's a difference if it comes from House of Wrestling or Fightful.
yeah.
If it comes from Bob's Wrestling side or from PW Insider. So be careful of what's being said, and even I'll give another example that's not anywhere near a big deal, but something, when WWE first went to Fox, Dan the Belt guy, made a comment that, the new tag team belts have been sent to WWE. Nobody was really sure what they look like. There were rumors that it might have something related to Fox on them, blah, blah, blah. Those belts never made an appearance. Now, I do understand that there is a storage room that has lots of belts that Vince ordered and decided he didn't like. So, not saying that Dan wasn't telling the truth, but you just can't, because he probably was. But, just because you're hearing something doesn't mean it's going to, make its way to TV. I mean, WWE replaced almost all their belts, and I was expecting them to replace the tag belts, and they still haven't. Supposedly, there are new tag belts. Supposedly, 2 sets were made. But again, until they're on TV, it didn't happen. So we'll see. And
Ryan says women's pay-per-views do well.
Yeah, that's not what Triple H said.
Well, and I think, look, there's various levels of degrees of what's success, right? And
Sure.
I think for Mission Pro, like they're I believe most of their shows are on pay-per-view, or at least a subscription-based service to watch the content. And they have great talent. They're still coming in and out of that promotion, and it's funny. Like we've mentioned, and I don't mean to get into Mission Pro just because Brian's on, but like, their women's world champion just debuted in the NWA. I kind of wish that Mission Pro would be next up as an affiliate of the NWA, because they're doing exactly what the NWA needs to do, is finding good talent and giving them a place to perform and get better, and also have the ability to scout independent talent. I mean, it honestly, it'd be a good match, especially because the NWA is so deficient in women's talent. I mean, there's some good talent. Like, look, I'm a huge Pretty and Power fan. We talk about it all the time. And Markova's great, and Camille's great. But there is still Misa Kate. It's one of my favorites now. She's great as well. But there's a lack of talent in that women's division. I feel like they would be beneficial of that.
Yeah. They mainly need women's tag teams.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting. I saw they had the King Bee or whatever tag team on the show.
Charity King and Delilah B or something like that.
Something like that. And I was hoping that they would take time to, build them. But it doesn't sound like they are. So I was very disappointed. Apparently this goes on with one of the things that people are complaining about Billy about, according to the stuff, that
Brian says we've helped about 30 women get signed for various companies, so someone's watching. And yeah, absolutely. And Mission Pro has always been one of the more professional presentations of women's wrestling. They've been doing it for a while now. I think Shimmer might have been first, maybe Shine, or those two could have been around at the same time. But you have to give props to what Mission Pro is doing. And with the world as it is now, we talked about WoW a few minutes ago. They're getting huge ratings on their syndicated TV. There's another wrestling promotion that's filmed in Los Angeles that also, I don't know much about it, but I feel, there's Melina works with them, and there's a lot of women talent that appear on that show too. So I mean, yes, women's wrestling is a draw. Just has to be presented the right way, But getting back to the NWA, because that's kind of what we do here is we talk NWA. And just so everyone knows, Brian Cervantes is the co-owner of Mission Pro Wrestling. So when he's talking in the chat, he's speaking from a point of authority, and he kind of knows what he's talking about. And I'm not going to put all that chat on the window here, but listen to what he says, because he's part of that whole thing, and he doesn't have an agenda here. He's speaking the truth. But getting back to the conversation of the NWA, we just had the TV tapings happen on November the 4th, just the last weekend. The turnaround, we got some new programming out this week. And I actually was very happy with what I saw on POWERRR this week. DK, what were your thoughts on POWERRR, just generally?
Well, I still hate that we can't see the crowd.
Yeah.
But actual in-ring action, I'm going to tell you, I'm a little bit mixed in that a lot of it was really good, but some of it was probably better than it should have been.
That's fair. What match blew you away? Which match were you like, yeah, that was good. That was real good.
The main event, the women's
title match.
Well, I think it was non-title, but yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right, non-title. Max and Lisa Kate was the title match, and I actually really enjoyed that match.
Oh, by the way, the NWA has posted Max's match from Finland.
Yeah, and that's good to point out. The NWA, as of recent, on their YouTube channel, you got to scroll down to just the individual matches. They recently put out a tag team match for the U.S. tag titles with Talos and Daisy Kills defending the titles in CCW, which is that promotion in Florida. I think it travels a little bit. I think it travels from Florida to Tennessee back and forth. They defended the U.S. tag titles on one of their shows. That match was uploaded. The match where Max won the Joshi International Princess Championship has also been put up on YouTube on the NWA channel. And like you, DK, just said, the match in Finland just got posted, I think, today. So if you want to see some more matches that the NWA more NWA title matches, they're making those available now on YouTube. And I'm kind of hoping that's a trend that continues to happen, especially if the NWA does go to a broadcast network. hopefully they'll keep putting these matches on their YouTube channel because, you know, I don't imagine that they will just take their same show and put it on YouTube the same way, right?
That's my hope.
I mean,
I mean, my hope was that if they would do something like that, that it would. And you're right, Matthew. My hope would be that if they would do something that their production kicked up a notch with the setup, but it would need to kick up more.
yeah.
And you know, that's just the way it is. And
You're gonna take a break. You'll be right back.
give me a couple of minutes, and I will. But I think it's very important to understand that I said with the last set of tapings. I think the NWA is doing things that are moving better and in the right direction. I did see a lot of very good in-ring action on this episode. And are we going to talk about the episode, or are we just going to?
Yeah, when you come back, we'll talk about the episode.
Okay. And so I did see a lot of really good, you know, action in it. I did see some things that I enjoy. There's still a few things that kind of, you know, like the Killer Bees and everything, kind of irked me a little bit. Or not Killer Bees, what it?
Killer Bees.
King Bees, Killer Bees. Yeah, showing my age there.
Which one? B. Brian Blair or Jumping Jim Brunzell?
I was actually a Brian Blair fan before he joined the Killer Bees. After he joined the Killer Bees, I was not a fan of either him or Jim Brunzell. And it's not that I wasn't a fan of Jim Brunzell, but I was a bigger fan of Brian Blair as an individual wrestler. Apparently, you agree with me.
So I was very young then, and I liked Jim Brunzell teaming with Greg Gagne in the AWA. So the High Flyers.
Yeah, that's one of those things that when you're young and you're stupid and you don't realize what some of the connections are. Is that, I mean, when I first saw them in AWA and Jim Brunzell left, I couldn't figure out why Greg didn't go with him, because I didn't realize at the time it was his dad's company, even though it wasn't very well hidden. But you know, they still had Stanley Blackburn as the president, which, you know, I kind of knew the presidents weren't the real, weren't the real thing. But it was just funny at the time. I didn't know that Vern was the owner and Booker and all that stuff. And so it was just like, you know, Jim left, and I was just thinking to myself, why didn't Greg go with them? You know, a year later, I was like, Vern owns that thing. Oh, well, now it all makes sense. All right, I gotta go take drugs.
All right, we'll see you in a few minutes. All right, so now it's the J Cal show. I'm J Cal, and right now we'll be talking a little bit wrestling classics. Jim Brunzell was incredible in my opinion. High Flyers and Singles in Mid-Atlantic. Yeah, I was familiar with his AWA work, and it's silly. I know it's silly, but like I was introduced to Jim Brunzell and Greg Gagne through the AWA Remco figures. I still have some of them. Right now, I have my AWA Remco figure of the Thrillbilly Silas Mason. But I remember playing with Jim Brunzell. I remember playing with Jim Brunzell and Greg Gagne. They were my favorites. They had the tie-dye trunks. Wrestling Classics, you're only 37. Wow. And you did the deep dive. See, the Jim Brunzell and Greg Gagne were a little bit before my time too, but we had they used to show on ESPN the AWA Classics, so I got to see a lot of that stuff through that way. So November 4th was the TV tapings. We had a new season of Power just filmed. A lot of missing faces, right? Like no La Rebellion. I don't think the Brothers of Friendstruction were on this season. I could be wrong. We know that Maddie is not going to be on this season. Looks like Mike Knox won't be on this season. So there are some missing faces. Of course, it's only a short turnaround before we get to the next TV taping. We do have more matches coming on November the 18th when they return to Sarasota, Florida for the first time in 30 years at the Robarts, arena. And this is a long time NWA territory. They're making their return to this arena, and it looks like some more of those familiar faces will be back at this venue. We can see the Brothers of Construction, Mike Knox in the photo, Ruthie J. A lot of the familiar faces we haven't, looks like we might not see this season on Power will be there. And they've already announced 2 of the matches. And when DK gets back, we'll talk about those matches. But of course, she won this spot at the Samhain pay-per-view, and that's going to be Samantha Starr getting an opportunity to challenge Kenzie Page for the Burke. Again, that happens on November the 18th at the return to Robarts. And then, of course, this was just announced on on Tuesday on Power. Jax Dane is getting a shot at EC3, the first NWA champion in the Lightning One era, outside of course, Tim Storm, who really didn't put the title against Jax. You got to remember, Jax Dane was the champion before Tim Storm. Tim Storm beat Jax Dane. There was a rivalry between the two that culminated in Jax Dane dropping the 10 pounds of gold to Tim Storm. But before that, they were both pursuing that championship. Now, if you look at Jack's career on the spectrum, of course, he was an NWA World Tag Team Champion, teamed with the former champion, World Heavyweight Champion, Rob Conway. They won the World Tag titles in New Japan Pro Wrestling. In fact, the night that Rob Conway won the title, that was supposed to be Jax Dane's opportunity to wrestle for that 10 pounds of gold against Tokyo Monster Kahagas. Now, that match didn't happen. Jax was injured. Rob Conway won the title. He went to Japan. He made the moves. And in his shadow was Jax Dane. Now, Jax Dane stands in nobody's shadow. And when he went to Japan, he became essentially Conway's backup and tag team partner. They would win the tag titles and then lose them in Japan. But later down the road, Jax would return to the United States and he would wrestle for the National Championship and later the North American Championship. Briefly unified both those titles before being injured. The titles were split up during that time. And then he would have an opportunity to wrestle Hiroshi Tenzan for the 10 pounds of gold. He would beat Hiroshi Tenzan for the title and then would hold that title till his old nemesis, Tim Storm, would show up, take the title off of Jax Dane. And Jax essentially was gone from the NWA at that point. It didn't return until NWA Superpower, the first Superpower episode that aired in March of 2020. And Jax came back to continue his feud with Tim Storm. But he never got that opportunity to wrestle for the 10 pounds of gold. Never was given a shot by Trevor Murdoch, never given a shot by Tyrus, never given a shot by Matt Cardona, Nick Aldis. Nobody had stood up to give Jax Dane an opportunity. He is by far the most celebrated champion in the NWA currently. He's held every single title. He's a former national champion. He's a former 2-time national champion, one during the Lightning One era and one prior to the Lightning One era. Tag team champion, North American champion, title is defunct now. And he's done it all, really. And outside of pursuing the U.S. tag titles or the TV title, which honestly, I think might be a little below him. And I think he agrees because he walked right up to EC3 on Tuesday night and the challenge has been set. The match is set up. And what EC3 makes up in confidence and his in-ring ability, he's going to be fighting from a point where the man standing against him is bigger, stronger, maybe not faster, but definitely more powerful. And so this is going to be very much a styles clash. Now, we saw But we see EC3 in the ring all the time with people who are bigger than him. Of course, he beat Tyrus to win the title, and they don't get much bigger than Tyrus. And even Tom Latimer has height and probably weight on EC3. But Jack Stane is built different. And if he pops that trunk at the right point, he might be the next world's heavyweight champion. And I'm not convinced that he won't leave the Robarts Arena as your new NWA World's Heavyweight Champion and bring in the new year with the 10 pounds of gold for the Dane event. Excuse me. I'm a little under the weather too, so you can hear. Sorry if I'm a little congested when I'm talking here, but let's read some more of your guys' comments here. Dodie says, if La Rebellion is done with the NWA, Billy should call Lindsay Snow. I don't think La Rebellion is done. I don't think they're done. I think they're taking other dates. I know, for example, when the Friday night before the TV taping, I was in Tijuana and I got to see Bestia 666 team up with Rey Horas as the battery died. But you know what? I have another one, so just stand by for a second. Sorry, guys. I try to usually get that better. I got to see Bestia team with Rey Horas as the La Rebellion in Tijuana, and that's when I kind of knew that they weren't going to be at the TV tapings because, normally they wouldn't be in another country the night before a show on a Saturday. Wrestling with Classic says, is Knox hurt or done? I think it was a scheduling conflict, to be quite honest with you. They said he got hurt at the pay-per-view, but I think that's just a work storyline. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't think it is. I mean, when he took that table spot, it was pretty clean.
Yeah, I mean, if you had paid attention to not you, but generic you, pay attention to the listing of people that were scheduled for the TV taping, you'd notice that he was missing from it.
Yeah, he was missing like a couple of weeks before. Chris says, it's time La Rebellion go for bigger prize, the AAA tag titles. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. La Rebellion is, I think, one of my favorite tag teams to watch, but they don't really have much to prove left in the NWA. And as long as you have Blunt Force Trauma in this kind of storied feud with Murdoch's and I said Murdoch's, Knox and Murdoch, then it's you don't need La Rebellion on every show. There's not a whole lot they can do. They're just waiting for whoever wins to challenge them. And then Noob says, I hope Natalia Markova will be on November 18th. I'm going to tell you this 100%. She will be there because they're also doing another event the night before with, let me pull up the graphic. It is the night before. It is called The Invasion, and that's on November 17th. And that's going to be a co-promoted event with Fight the World Wrestling, that's the promotion that I believe is at least partially owned or operated by Mikio and Natalia Markova. So I do believe that there will be some, you'll see plenty of Natalia Markova that weekend and on the TV taping as well. So while you were gone, DK, we were talking about this matchup right here.
Woo!
Now, I wax poetic about Jack Stane whenever I get a chance. You're somebody, you were there for a lot of his title matches in Texas, right? You got to see him defend the title. Were you there when he won it?
I saw him defend it a couple times, well, more than a couple.
Were you there when he won it?
Yeah, I drove down to San Antonio. It was a rare thing that I would take that type of road trip for wrestling, but I went down to San Antonio and to watch him challenge for the title.
What was the longer drive? You driving to see Jax win the title, or you driving to see Tyrus win the title?
New Orleans was a longer drive, but not by. It was, I think, 5 hours San Antonio because of the way that we went, because of the side of San Antonio they were on, and it was about 8.5 to 9 hours to New Orleans And no, I'm not going to try and pronounce the suburb we were in. We were in New Orleans. So,
So
that's the way it be.
well, tell me about Jack Stane. Tell me why he is going to walk away as world champion, or is EC3 going to retain? Tell me what you think.
All right. In my heart, I want Jax to walk away. Because...
As champion.
Yeah, as champion, because I think he earns a chance. He's earned a chance to be champion in a bigger spotlight than he was under Tharp. I mean, look, he wrestled. He didn't defend the title, but he wrestled in New Japan.
Yeah.
Under Tharp and stuff like that, and so he certainly defended the title plenty of times and went plenty of places, but it just wasn't as well respected back then as kind of it is now with Corgan. And not that it's necessarily any better, but it's, it is what it is. And so I'd certainly like to see him get a chance to run with the title and everything like that. And let us see what he can do. So he's a big, talented guy. I loved his promo on the show. His end line was perfect. He was the perfect mix of his old heel character and still some of his face character. Which we also kind of have EC3, kind of the same boat, both heel and face at the same time. Now, yes, I do prefer a heel and a face, and
yes,
but they stay in those particular things for a while. But
I would argue that Jax is a face now.
Well, he was, but you'll notice with some of the things he said that he kind of got a reaction from that, and they kind of went back on the Dane event, which was, very much his heel persona. And so, but that last line is like, your title reign will be over, man. So, I loved it. I just thought it was perfect.
Jax is great. Friend of the show. He's somebody who's been on here a few times, and I'll never forget the first time I got to meet him in person. He had already been on the podcast at least twice at that point, and it was at the 70th anniversary show. I had the 10 pounds of replica right over here. Thanks, DK. And when I went to see him, he recognized me. I recognized him. And we had talked on the phone a couple of times. And I said, hey, man, can I get you to sign this? And with the biggest smile on his face, with no hesitation, he literally grabbed the belt out of my hand and was ready to sign. Just the nicest dude in the world. I know that he's a heel sometimes. I know he's a face sometimes. But he's always a friend to the show. And he's got my full support. Now, and I love EC3 as champ. I'm not going to lie. I feel like EC3 is doing a great job. But in order to be great, you have to beat the ones that are great. He beat Tom Latimer. Beating Jack Stane will add a lot of credibility to this reign. It really does. So I'm excited for it. And, I'm kind of sad that it's not going to be a pay-per-view match. It's just a TV title. Not a TV title match. It's a TV match for the World's Heavyweight Championship. But I feel like this is going to be a big, big test for EC3. And if he fails, man, we get Jack Stane as world champion. And I'm totally all right with that.
Yeah. I mean, all honesty, I expect EC3 to retain. But, we'll have to see how they do it.
It is the holidays. It might be one of those I don't want to tour during the Christmas time. Hey, what about this matchup? You have Kenzie Page taking on Samantha Starr. Now, we learned that this match was going to happen at the pay-per-view when Samantha Starr won the elimination. Excuse me, not pay-per-view, on the TV tapings. No, pay-per-view. It was Samhain. Never mind. At Samhain, we know that Samantha Starr would get that opportunity.
Just out of curiosity, who picked Samantha Starr to win that?
I don't think we wrote it down.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you
how convenient of you? No, I know I picked Samantha Starr.
Who did I pick?
I don't remember. I really don't remember anyone's anyone else's pick, but I think I was the only one that picked Samantha Starr.
EC3 doing very well as champion right now. Our good pal Pole Jump. Can't say enough nice things about Pole Jump. What's up, buddy? Thanks for jumping on. EC3 is doing very well as champion right now. Don't change it. Well, maybe if some promoter in Australia would book the world's heavyweight champion. I mean, I'm just saying. It's not my money, but Pole Jump, that'd be awesome. Let's see. Dodie says EC3 will be champion for a long time because he's Billy's long-wished champion, and he has been a good as a champion. But yeah, Jax needs to be champion again sooner or later. And then Matthew Underwood said that he thought Samantha Starr also was going to win that match. So what do you think of that matchup, though, DK, between Samantha Starr and Ella Envy?
Ella Envy?
Excuse me, Kenzie Page. Sorry.
Man, Freudian slip there, Jay.
It happens. I'm not perfect.
I would expect Paige to win, but that being said, I would expect it to be a really good match. Kenzie Page has the ability to put on really good matches. We'll still have. We never got the chance to talk about the pay-per-view. I was very disappointed in the pay-per-view match. Not because I didn't think it was good, but on the pay-per-view, it seemed like the normal wrestling matches were short and the screwy matches were gimmick matches were long. A lot of them too long. Although, boy, did I enjoy that junior heavyweight title match. Which, by the way, who predicted that Carino would retain the title?
No, you definitely did. I remember that one.
I may have been the only one that predicted that. I think almost everybody else predicted.
I still think that Joe Alonzo kid is fire, but we'll talk more about that later. Let's talk a little bit about Power this week. I thought it was a really good episode. Started off with the tag team match. You had the Southern Six taking on the Heat Seekers. I was floored with excitement that Joe Galley acknowledged that they were 4-time NWA World Tag Team Champions. I think that was a really cool homage to the yesteryear of the NWA. And I know it's not it's not bringing out Ricky Morton or Robert Gibson, but I still just love the fact that they acknowledge it, because for so long it felt like they ignored what happened, anything past 1986. So for them to acknowledge that these guys were former tag team champions, I thought was a really cool deal. And I thought the match was really good. Sigmund and Russell looked really good in this match. But of course, I feel like Taylor and Morton are on a different level right now, and they might be future contenders to the I think we call them the war gods, but I think they're called the Immortals. What did you think of this matchup, DK?
Oh, I try not to think about matchups. No, I'm disappointed in how they're using the Heat Seekers. They're kind of used them more as enhancement talent than they have as actual former world champions.
Well, this is their first opportunity on Power, though, too.
Well, but they've been on a couple of pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Not much different. And so it was a good match. Of course, right now they're doing the right thing with the Southern Six where they're not actually beating them. So, letting them go, that's something they need to go with. Southern Six needs to establish themselves.
Yeah.
And so it was a good match. I enjoyed the match. And I thought the way they got the win was a good way of doing it too. I mean, I didn't think it was it was screwy but clean at the same time.
Yeah.
And so I thought that worked well. So yeah, I did enjoy it.
I'm hopeful that we do see more of the Heat Seekers because again, I very much enjoyed the match. And, I wasn't huge Heat Seeker fans when they were World Tag Champions. But, again, it's nice to recognize the past. And they had a good outing. I thought they looked really good in that matchup. Very, very comfortable in the ring. Very comfortable, on camera, A lot of the times I bring in these guys who haven't worked a lot of TV, and you see them working the audience and not so much the hard cam. And I guess I guess with the way this tapings are set up, it's you can
It's
do
the
both.
same.
Yeah, but with that being said, I felt like they were comfortable in that spot, and if those guys were given an opportunity to wrestle for the U.S. tag titles, I'd be cool with that. I'm not saying put them in the main event by any stretch, but give those guys an opportunity to run a little bit, The other match that, or the next match, I guess, would be what was my favorite match of the night, which was Max the Impaler defending the NWA World Women's Television Championship against Chicago's sweetheart, Misa Kate. This was exactly what I hoped it would be. Misa Kate did not show any fear in that ring. She went right after Max and really kind of took it to Max in a way that, only I think Camille has given her more offense than Misa. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really felt like she went out there and brought the fight to Max. She lost like she's supposed to lose, but she's probably looked the best in defeat that I can remember seeing against Max. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was exactly what it was supposed to be. And that's something I think a lot of wrestling promotions and stuff have have forgotten. It started with ECW and later, but when Misa looked good for wrestling Max.
Yeah,
Max is supposed to be a dominant, kick-ass, destroyer. And so you would expect that out of her. And so she looked good for what she did to get slaughtered by Max. But it wasn't a total slaughter. She got enough offense in to make you go, put her in with somebody closer to her size. She probably kicked their ass. And so with Maddie perhaps off to greener pastures, we may get a chance to see Misa and, do it right. Maybe a Misa Mackenzie Page matchup would be really entertaining.
I think so too. I do feel like they're going to go back with Markova chasing the TV title again because, after the finish of that match, Markova was quick to get out there to rescue. I don't even know if it was rescue as much as it was to engage Max. We saw her do that earlier last season with Taylor Rising, which led to them becoming a tag team for a brief moment. So who knows? But I thought that was my favorite match of the night because I really liked the Spitfire from.
Was she in that match?
Huh?
Did she come out for that match too?
Am I mistaken?
She came out for the last match.
Okay, then maybe my brain is mushing stuff together, so I apologize. I thought she came out to engage Max.
She came out to save her new partner, terrorizing after Mackenzie was kind of.
You're right. Okay.
At the end.
You're right. I apologize. My brain mushed it all together. Okay. So then the next match would be the tag team match, non-title, featuring Blunt Force Trauma versus Magic Inc. Now, this was way more entertaining than normally I find Magic Inc. In fact, I think Cody James has really grown on me. I think he's doing a great job as Jake Dumas's tag team partner. This tag team isn't bad. I mean, Christy James is so dang charming on the outside. I find myself smiling when she smiles. It's a fun show when they're in the ring. I felt like Dumas took a lot of punishment, Magic Jake, and Cody kind of came in and roughed him up a little bit. And, it was a very competitive match, probably more competitive than I would have expected And of course, it was the loaded glove that gave them the victory. Christy Janes gave Stevens the low blow in the post match, conflict. I thought this was a fun match. DK, what did you think about this one?
It was more competitive than I was expecting and probably wanted. The match itself was entertaining, but at some point you got to believe that your champions can win a tag match without Aaron Stevens.
Yeah.
And this should have been a match that they won without Aaron Stevens. And I realized part of it. I like kind of the new thing that they've given Christy James. She's gone from being kind of a stupid little display person into, somebody with some moxie and stuff. And, so I realized it worked better in the post angle for when she low blowed them, but they could have done that even if they had already done the thing. He could have just loaded up his glove afterwards to continue a beatdown, so to speak. And so not thrilled that they said Aaron Stevens later in the show wanted a match with Christy James, because that's just stupid. But the match itself, it was pretty entertaining. What's the bald guy's name? Cody what?
Cody, I think it's Cody James.
Cody James. Yeah, I really don't know anything about him. And if I've seen him before, I don't have memory of it. I mean, I know he's done some other matches here in the NWA just recently. But before that, if I've seen him anywhere, I couldn't tell you. And I did think he maybe got too much offense in again for the type of match it was.
It wasn't a squash.
Well, not only was it not a squash, but he didn't take much of a beating, and he gave out more of a beating, I think, than he took. And again, I don't know that that's right. I think BFT needs to come across as
some ass kickers.
Some ass kickers who, Aaron Stevens helps him out, but they don't necessarily need him to.
When I was watching the match, because we've said it so many times on this show, and I think the comparison is appropriate. They're very much like a Doom 2.0, right? And I remember watching Doom when I was a kid, and not every match was against the Steiner brothers. They had lots of matches where they faced two J-Brones and beat the crap out of them. And I kind of feel like sometimes that's what's missing on Power. Like, it's okay to have a squash match. It really is. Like, it's okay to bring out somebody like Soda Pop and Devin Graves and just have them get their lunches ate up by a tag team. It's okay to do that. It's okay to have Sal and Gags come out and just get an ass whooping. It's okay to do that. I'm just saying, like, it's okay to bring up lower guys on the roster and just let them get their butts kicked. I think that's a lost art, and I feel like if you do that, like if the Heat Seekers came out and had a tag team match against an enhancement team and they won, but it was difficult, and then you put them in the ring with somebody like BFT, or you put them in the ring with the Southern Six, you kind of built them up a little bit to take them down. That's one of the things I feel like is missing from the NWA, is that we get presented with these tag teams or any wrestler, and there's no real story behind them. And then it's like, okay, well, they're in a match, but it's not a squash match. It's not an enhancement match. It's kind of like a 50-50 match where it looks like it could go either way. And then, like, with no disrespect to Magic Inc., they should not be toe-to-toe with the tag team champions.
In fact, actually, if I were trying to get some things over, I would have put Magic Inc. in the ring against
Heat Seekers?
No,
Southern Six.
The Southern Six, and put the Heat Seekers in, because that makes sense. Hey, here's a four-time World Tag Team Champions, and so they're going to go up our current World Tag Team Champions, go against our current World Tag Team Champions with a non-title match and see what happens. Then, if what's his name interferes, Stevens interferes, it's more believable as to a reason as to why he may have needed to. I mean, here's a team, they've been the tag team champions before. They've, they're a top team. They can look good in losing here.
Yeah.
And so it seemed like to me this match was put together more for the ending with Aaron and CJ, Christy James. And so I don't know how they're going to handle that, if they'll actually do a match or something else. But, I mean, Jim Cornette always brought the racket out with him, but Jim Cornette didn't use the racket every time the Midnight Express wrestled. The Midnight Express pinned a lot of people.
Yeah. And that's important. I feel like that's something they should still do, too. Matthew Underwood says the War God should have squash matches as well. All right, so that takes us to the main event. Of course, tonight was a non-title match, but it featured not that one. It featured Kenzie Page taking on Taylor Rising, not to be confused with Terror Rising, her uncle that works for the WWE. And this match, again, was pretty good. I did see some spots where Taylor kind of botched a few things, but all in all, by and by, I thought it was a really good match. It did a good job of telling a story, making Kenzie more believable as world champion, making her more dominant. She hits that Kenzie cutter out of nowhere, but leading up to that, she had a really stiff super kick, and she was able to avoid a lot of the Taylor offense. Sometimes I felt like Taylor got lost in the ring, and it was Kenzie the one bringing her back to where she needed to be. What were your thoughts on this one, DK?
Yeah, Taylor looked green, but it was a good match. And I thought they covered up some of the screw-ups pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, I have to realize sometimes some of us, probably our eyes are more discerning than the average person watching.
Well, I think the most obvious one was the 619, but you could even play that up like, oh, well, she saw that Kenzie wasn't there, so she stopped herself from, throwing herself out of the ring,
Yeah, that was the one that I was trying to figure out. Like, I saw it and go, all right, was she supposed to, since Kenzie moved, make it look like it was bad, or did she actually blow it? And it may have been a combination. It may have been a combination of the two, because even Ray, when he missed it, sometimes there's some weirdness that goes on. It was her kind of being in between the ropes that sort of made you go, ew. But hey, the match overall, the match was good, and you're going to give Taylor Rising her credit for, again, being, I think she's more young than not, more just started than not, isn't she?
Yeah, she's still relatively young. I mean, I can look it up. I'm not.
Well, and young in the business, not just, so yeah, I think
yeah, she's 4 years in the business.
Yeah, so depending on how much she's worked and where she's worked, she's probably not. She's going to have those moments, so we won't beat her up over them. Something I will beat things up over. I don't like the bodyguards for.
No, I thought that was ridiculous. I didn't really get into the promos, but I think Kylie and Ella did a great job with the promo, but the security guards behind them I thought was just
I thought Kylie's voice was a little bit off. I don't know if she had a shot of whiskey before she came out there, or it kind of seemed like it dropped a little bit.
Well,
maybe she's a little bit hoarse from yelling at the fans or something. I don't mean this as a criticism. I'm just saying it seemed like her voice just seemed lower to me than normal. That she didn't seem to have that.
My understanding is that Kylie and Kenzie are working regularly. If it's not for the NWA, they're working for Crossfire. If it's not Crossfire, they're working some promotion in that general area. I feel like that maybe she's just getting tired, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but maybe it's just it catches up to you. If you're wrestling every weekend, it'll take something out of you.
Yeah, it does. And like I said, I don't mean it to be a criticism. It was just like, when she first did her, and it was like I'm Kylie, Paige.
or maybe it was the Jack Daniels. Who knows?
I'm just like, Kylie, next time you take a shot of Jack,
And Noob is a huge Markova fan, and I'll be honest, man. I thought that Markova and Taylor were going to win the tag titles at the pay-per-view, but I don't know, man. I feel like they have a plan for Markova, and they just haven't got to it yet. We'll see what happens. And Dodie says, don't forget Kenzie works New South with that legendary big-ass belt. I think she held that big-ass belt for a while. You know which one I'm talking about? The one that's like bigger than my camera frame?
Oh, yeah.
It makes the old NWA Women's Championship look small by comparison.
Let me tell you, I think that is the second heaviest belt I own.
Well, hey, I think now is as good as any to wrap it up for the night. I mean, you're a little under the weather. I'm a little under the weather. And I wouldn't mind going to bed a little bit early tonight. So why don't we wrap it up here? DK, how can they follow you on social media?
At DKM FWTX. I'm even on Threads.
You did it. You finally made the jump, huh?
Not on it a lot, but I'm on Threads.
And is the rumors true? Are you going to open up a Cameo account?
I don't know about a Cameo account. We might do our own version of Cameo here through Alliance blog. I was supposed to record a video today, but I don't have the energy to go all out like I need to.
We rest up and you got to do it right.
Jaden's come up with an angry DKM, copyright pending, and or trademark pending. Something's pending.
We can put that up in the merch store once you get a design for it.
Yeah, and so if you want me to yell at people, pay Jay $10, and Jay and I will work out our end of the business later, and I'll yell at either you or whoever you want me to yell at.
You are a loved one.
Yeah, or a hated one. I just need to know who I'm yelling at, why I'm yelling at them, and if you want it to be G, PG, or MA. G, as in no curse words at all.
Oh.
PG with some curse words or mature audiences, and I will drop F-bombs like Israel is bombing Gaza.
Oh God, dude. Please don't say anything more. Okay, all right. Real quick, Paladin, late breaking news. Bunny has been released from AEW. And okay, well, she's already exploring new ventures. Okay, so with all that being said, Tuesdays, please join me here on this same channel the hour before Power. We do the pre-party, and that's where we get you hyped up for everything NWA. And then, of course, the other Alliance guys, Dave Scooby, Tim, the NWA Gold, no, not NWA Gold, Alliance Gold, and Championship Wrestling from Jeremy, talk all things NWA.
Our buddy Paladin says Bunny's been released by AEW, or probably her contract's not been renewed.
That's what I just said before I said this.
I'm having some fun with you.
Okay. And she has another side project too. So, I mean, if that's something you're interested in. And then, of course, we'll be back here next Thursday. All of the socials are at the Alliance blog. We're updating new merchandise soon. Hopefully, we'll have some Angry DCAM merch to go. And until next time, everybody, we enjoy talking to you on Thursdays, but we will see you at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at the